Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Reese and today we're going to be building this landing page using React Free Fiber. Okay guys, so the brief for this landing page is that it's going to be targeted for people with mental health issues. So with that in mind, we don't want to overwhelm them. We want to keep it nice, simple and elegant, and we want to try and connect with them on an emotional level, and we're going to try and engage with them through some simple 3D animations, and hopefully that can create some kind of impact. So a couple of prerequisites before we get started. You need to make sure you've got Node installed on your computer, and the text editor that we'll be using is Visual Studio Code. Once you have them installed, we can just create a new folder on our desktop. We'll call this My Projects. We can click and drag that into our Visual Studio Code editor. I'm just going to resize that now just so we can work a bit clearer. From there, what we want to do is create a new integrated terminal, and you can head over to the React website and just grab that code there, and we can run npx create React app, and then we can call it whatever we like. So we're going to call this landing page. Now if you hit enter now, that might take a little bit of time, but that should go through in a couple of minutes. Okay, so now that's gone through, we can change directory into our landing page folder which we just created. So we're going to cd landing-page, and then we're going to npm start. That should open up a new tab in our browser with a local host where we can view our application that we've just created, and we can see that's all working. From there we just want to do a bit of a tidy up, so we can go and delete a few things, the app test and web vitals, setup tests, and then we're going to head into our index.js file and just remove the imports from the things that we've just removed. So you can go ahead and delete all of these core web vitals, and we're going to delete the logo, go into our app and just delete the import there as well and the reference to it in the HTML. Give that a save and refresh, and that should be working. Okay, so next up we want to go ahead and install our dependencies. So we're going to install React Free Fiber, and we just need to close the localhost off. So if you hit Ctrl+C on your keyboard, so we can install that. Next up we want to install React Free Dre. So if we go ahead and npm install React Free Dre, do the same again, paste that in, hit enter. And we're also going to be using Bootstrap for this as well. So there's a React version of Bootstrap which we can go ahead and install. Again, we'll copy and paste the installation there, which is all in the docs. Just wait for this to go through, hit enter again. Cool, so going back to the brief, if you remember, this needs to be really simple and elegant. So if you go to Google, search for font pairs, so we're going to Google elegant Google font pairs, and I quite like the ones on here, Italiano and Roboto. So we're going to head over to Google Fonts, and we're just going to go grab them fonts and install them. So you've already got Oswald on the right hand side, so I just need to remove that. Let's go and get Italiano and select that font, and then next up we'll go and get Roboto. So we scroll down and we'll select a couple of different variations. So that should now give us a link to copy and paste into our index.html file. So we just copy that, we'll head back over to our public folder, locate that index.html, and we're going to paste this just above the closing head tag. I'm going to indent that across to make it nice and tidy, hit save, and that's the font installed. So next steps, we just want to do a modern CSS reset to prevent any browser styles on our HTML on our web page. Here's one I like, so I'm just going to copy and paste that over into the index.css file. We're going to remove what's already in there. We're going to head over to the app.css and also delete everything in there, so we can start from pretty much a blank canvas. Cool. So now we've got that, we just want to create a header where we're going to put our logo inside. So we create a header tag, image, we create a source, and we're going to link that to a variable called logo. You can put an alt tag in there, you can call that anything you like. And next up, we just need to import our logo, which we'll drag in just a moment. So type import logo from /logo.png, and I'm going to go into my project files and drag the logo into our source folder. Cool. So that should be working. What I'm going to do is just go into our apps.css and make the body background red, just to check that the image is in there, and you can see it's working. Perfect. Cool, so we can go ahead and remove that now. We're just going to delete that completely, and to save some time I'm going to paste in some styles from over screen, just to fix the HTML body and the root. Then we've got some basic styles on the header. I've put a little shadow on it using a before element, and I've also set the size and the logo too. Cool. So from there, if you've watched my previous tutorial for React Free Fiber, you always need a canvas. So we're going to wrap our whole app in the canvas from React Free Fiber. So we just need to import that from the top there. Give that a save, and that's working. And what we just want to do is clean up our app component. So we're just going to get rid of everything and put a React fragment in there. And what we'll do, we'll just go ahead and change the background of the whole body to be black. So we'll just create a new little style in here. Oops, just going to remove that. Body style in here, background #000. Now that's looking a bit closer to the end result. We can go ahead and just set that on the canvas as well. So you can do color, attach, set that to be the background. And then we can set the color to be, we'll set it to be red just to make sure it's all working okay. So we just put that in an array, #ff0000, give it a save. Oops, it should be args. And you can see that's all working, so we'll change it back to black. Cool, so if you notice, we've got some smooth scroll going on, so we're going to use scroll controls from React Three.js. We're going to set the pages to be 6. This is how many pages it scrolls through, each one being 100 viewport height. And you can set the dampening to be smooth as well. So if you've watched my previous tutorial, we're going to have two scroll containers in here. First one's going to contain our canvas elements, so our 3D stuff, and the second one's going to be containing our HTML, which will contain all of our bootstrap and headings. So with our second scroll container, just make sure you put the HTML tag in there and also set the width to be 100%. So you do that by adding a little style tag in there, and you'll set that manually. Once that's done, just remember that you need to import both scroll controls and scroll element at the top of your file from React Three.js. Okay, so that's not working quite as I expected. It looks like I made a little typo there. It should be capitalized, so scroll control should begin with a capital S. So just make sure to update that at your end as well, and update the import at the top. Cool, so next up we want to import our bootstrap components so we can start building out the HTML. So we're going to import the container, we're going to import the row, the columns, and also the button. So import them all at the top like I'm doing. And then we're going to create them within our HTML scroll container. And we're just going to put in some styles in here and also class names. So these are your generic Bootstrap class names, just to give them the styles that we need. So it's all going to be aligned central. I want to position absolute all of these. Give them a width of 100 viewport width and 100 viewport height. Give them a little bit of padding as well, just so we don't hit the side of the screen. And just remember to close that off as well. And then what we'll do, we'll just add a column in there. We can set the extra small size to be 6 columns. Add a div and then a heading 1. And we'll just remove the margin bottom that automatically gets put on. Save that out. And you'll notice we can't see it just yet. We just need to add some styles to our headings. So I'm just going to grab them from over screen. And I'm just going to copy and paste that into our app.css, so they're colour white. And then also scroll up a little bit, there we go, you can see at the top now. So one last thing, just to get everything working, we just need to import Bootstrap at the top of our app.css, and then everything should start working. Cool. So from here what we can do now is just start copying and pasting the rows. So I'm just going to do that. What we need to do is change the top position of each row to be 100 viewport height, then 200 viewport height, and then 300 and so forth for each row. So you'll notice here, if I just add top 100 viewport height, I'll give that a save. That should now jump down the screen, which is looking good. And then there's one last thing that we need to do, because you might notice it's slightly off center as well. Let's just see where the left works. Slightly nudged it back. Let's just inspect this and see what's going on. Okay. So it's still slightly off. Could be the viewport width. Let's set it to be 100%. That should sort it. Give it a refresh. There we go. Cool. So that's all central now. So we can take this row and we're just going to start filling out the content. So I'm going to fast forward this now. Okay guys, so now we've got the HTML in the page, we just want to go ahead and add our butterfly model to the scene. So if you head over to sketchfab and type in butterfly, make sure that the animated and downloadable icons are checked, and you can go ahead and download this one that I've got here. Obviously this is for a personal project. If you're doing anything for a commercial project, just make sure you check the licenses before you use it publicly. Once that's downloaded, we're gonna go ahead and extract that. And then we're just gonna drag that over into our public folder. So what we'll do, we'll create a new folder. We'll call this models. And we'll go ahead and drag that whole folder onto the models folder. Cool. So we'll just give that a little rename. Right click onto the butterfly folder and open a new integrated terminal. What we want to do is convert our butterfly model into a reusable JSX component. So there's a cool script to do that. It's gltf.jsx. If you head over to this library over here, and there's a cool little script you can run. So we'll copy and paste that script there, and we just need to rename it just to match our butterfly model So it'll be scene.gltf. So that might take a moment to go through, so I'll fast forward now. Cool, so that's gone through. You'll notice there's some new files being created. What we'll do is create a new folder within our source directory, and we'll call this models. So we'll type that out, and what we want to do is grab our new JSX file which is created there. It's called scene.jsx, and we'll drag that into our models folder. So we'll move that over, and we can close that little terminal off, so we're back into our project folder. We're going to rename the file to be butterfly.jsx so there's no confusion, and we just need to update the function name there too. As well as that, what we'll need to do is just update the paths. We just need to update it to match our path within the public directory. So we'll just type /models /butterfly /scene transformed.glb, and we'll do the same at the bottom as well. Now that we have our butterfly component, we can then import it into our app.js. And just going to close these tabs off. And what we want to do is just include it inside the scroll container which we created earlier. So we can do that now. We can save it out, and you might not see anything just yet. That's because we've got no lights in the scene, and the position might be a bit off center. So I'm just going to set some properties for the scale and position for the X, Y and Z axis. And then we're just going to add an ambient lighting at the top there. Save that out, and it looks like we need to increase that a little bit more. And we can go ahead and then copy and paste our butterfly multiple times and just offset the position on the X axis ever so slightly. So that way we got some on the left and some on the right. There we go, that's looking good. We're then also just going to add an environment to the scene just to help light it up a little bit more. So now we've got our butterflies added to the scene, what we want to do is add some cool post-processing effects. So we can do that. What we need to do is go and install the dependencies for the React post-processing. So we'll do that now, and we'll paste that in there. Hit enter. And before you do that, just make sure to hit Ctrl+C. And if you go over to your package.json, we've got that in there. And you just want to make sure that your version of 3 matches mine, just because I know in the latest version there's a couple of errors that came up when I did this. So now that's installed, we can go back to our app.js file and just create a new effect composer. We're going to add in a bloom effect, which is going to add a nice glow to the butterflies to help give it a nostalgic feel. So I'm just going to fast forward here. Just make sure to import your effects at the top from the React 3 post-processing. And we're going to add a spotlight at the top as well, just to increase the intensity of the bloom effect. That looks pretty cool. Next, what we want to do is add in a new effect. This one's going to be the depth of field, just to make the butterflies in the distance have more of a blur, which adds to the dreamy look. And then to finish it off, we're going to add a vignette around the butterflies just to add to the whole effect of the scene. So I'm just going to paste that in from over screen. And we'll include that at the top as well. So that's looking pretty cool. So I'm just going to comment at the top, just so we know which butterflies are which. And then we're just going to wrap our butterflies in a nice little helper from React Dre. It's going to be a float helper. And what that's going to do is just add a little bit more movement to the scene. So if I just include that at the top as well, give it a save, and you can see they're moving around. But they're still looking quite flat. That's just because we haven't added the animations for the butterfly. What we'll do before that, we'll just add the rest of our butterflies in. So we'll copy and paste this and just change the position of the butterflies just so they don't all look the same. And we'll do the same again towards the bottom, change a few of these values so it's a bit more random. And as we scroll down, you can see that they all looking pretty cool. Before we add the butterfly animations, what we'll do as well is add the sparkles to the scene. So these are done through the React Dre elements. I've got these copied and pasted. So what I'll do is import that at the top. And as you can see, we're just setting properties with different values, and we've got different colors for each of the sparkles. So there's 2 layers of sparkles in there. And that just adds a nice kind of elegant glow to the scene as well. So now we've got our sparkles added, we're going to go ahead and animate the butterflies. So if you head over to your butterfly component, what we're going to do is use a React hook called useEffect. And then just so you know what we're doing here, we're just going to console log the actions which our JSX component has already made for us at the top. So I'm just going to open the inspect, and you can see if we go to the console, you can see we've got object and you've got the action name right there. Type the name out and then we can just put .play. That should all work. Click save and you'll notice the butterflies start flapping. So if you think that's a little too fast, which I do for the scene, what we can do is slow this down, do the actions, target the animation and do the time scale. So if we set that to 0.5, it goes at half the speed, and we're going to slow it right down to 0.15, so that way it goes with the kind of feel that we're looking for. Now you may have noticed there's a slight bug with our model that we're using. It looks like it's duplicating itself, so I'm just going to set the visibility on one of the groups to be false, and then that should fix the issue. So the final piece to finish this landing page will be adding the sound effects, which will play when the user scrolls. So depending on the position that they're in, it will play one sound, and as you scroll further down the page it will play a different sound. So go ahead and create a new sounds folder in your source directory, and I'm just going to drag the audio in there. These are all from YouTube Audio Library, so feel free to have a browse and go select some. Just choose something that goes with the mood and style of the website that you'll be creating. So once they're in there, we'll go back to our app.js and we'll just import each of them sounds at the top of our file. Once they're imported, we can just go below the sparkles. We're still in the scroll container. Create a new comment called sound effects just so we can see clearly where they are. I'm just going to wrap each one of them in a group just so I can position them correctly. And we're going to import a positional audio from React Three.js. We just need to set the attributes and then set the URL to be the variables where we imported at the top. And you can play around with the distance and the different settings. Just read the React Three.js docs for more information. One of them each has a different position on the y-axis, so as you scroll down, the sound will play depending on where the camera is. And once that's done, you can save and refresh and check out the beautiful landing page that we've created together, which is all animated, and the sound effects will play depending on where the user scrolls. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you did, drop me a like or put a comment below, and I'll see you in the next one.